Did you hear that sound?
Idea.
I heard it.
I heard it. Are we
Good.
live?
Still
Then
hasn't
other
started.
people can see us. Yes, it has.
It has it?
Yeah.
Are we live? Welcome to the show. If you are watching, this is what we call the pre-show. We have not started the real show yet, but we always start a couple minutes early to make sure that we're live.
Everything's
That
working.
everybody, you mean that you can see us? Mark's going to verify that for us.
No,
All right, Mark.
Bam. I just verified it. We got it.
You don't need to be verifying.
I
Michael.
was just ahead.
Michael?
I was a step ahead.
You don't need to verify it. Okay.
See, mine doesn't work.
We're
It's
going to
not gonna
start at...
I got it, though. We're legit. We're on.
Okay, cool. Well, then I won't do it. You won't do it again, Michael.
If you're watching the pre-show, sign into the live chat below the video viewer.
Yeah, you can sign in as a guest, or
That's a
you
good thing.
can-
We should start doing that before
Hey,
the show.
it says
Let
3
everybody
people
know.
here now.
All right.
Already? Bam.
If you're watching and you're not participating in the chat,
I should sign in.
you're not signed in.
Yeah, that would help.
Mark will be responding to you, and if you can, today we're going to talk about justice. If you have a comment or a question, feel free to type that in the chat below the video, and Mark will bring you into our conversation.
Bam. All right, 10 o'clock. You guys ready to hit it?
Wow, that was the smoothest. It's
8 already?
The smoothest. It was a
Pre-show?
really quick pre-show, but
You locked, cocked, ready to rock, Doc?
yep.
My boss said it to me. I thought it sounded so cool.
I'm going to say yes. I don't.
I think he said a dirty word.
No, locked, cocked, ready to rock, Doc.
Oh, okay.
Like a gun.
Yeah.
Which
It's
we'll
okay.
get to.
It's okay if you say it like if you say bitch. It's not a swear word when you're referring to the female dog right in front of you.
Right.
But if you say that referring
We'll
to
still bleep that out later.
someone else, we always
we're
cut
not
out
on
the
the
pre-show.
podcast.
So if you're watching the pre-show, you're getting extra footage because
Secret.
it's not on. We delete it
Yeah, none of our podcast
when we
listeners.
post it. So
You ready to hit it?
you are one of the elite.
Bam.
Thank you
Hit
for
it.
joining. Welcome back to the Dummy Load. It is April 18th. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live, please join the chat below the video, and Mark will respond to you and bring you into our conversation. I'm Davey. I'll be hosting the show, and to my right is...
I'm Mark. Happy Good Friday, everybody.
It is Good Friday. And I'm the producer, Michael, running this ship.
the producer running this ship, this huge steaming pile of ship.
Right into the ground.
You always say it like that.
I don't mean to, but as it's leaving my mouth, I just can't help it. I'm like running this ship.
Well, if you're watching us, please click on the YouTube video and subscribe to our channel, because if you're watching us not live, you can see that we are blurry and not in high definition, and that's because we don't have enough subscribers. If we had 100, we would be in high definition and you'd see my beautiful face clearly.
And all of my acne scars.
Yeah, my scar on my forehead.
So today the topic is going to be justice, okay? But I wanted to start with some stories that don't really have a lot to do with justice. So this is, well, I guess everything really kind of, it's almost like everything that matters can sort of come down to a moral right or wrong issue, and the way we determine what's right or wrong is a sense of justice. Now I want you to tell me if this is right or if this is wrong. Some Yahoo decided to pee in a water reservoir, promoting city to dump 38 million gallons of treated water. Okay? In Portland, Oregon, the entire treated contents of one of Oregon's largest city reservoirs was dumped after a teenager was filmed urinating into the supply. So they got security cameras on this big reservoir. I think we have a picture of that reservoir. It's just a big, huge amount of water that they've stored up for in case they need it later. Though the water was tested and found to be clean, 38 million gallons were flushed making it the second time in less than 3 years the city has gone to such lengths to keep its water pure. In June 2011, the city drained a 7.5 million gallon reservoir at Mount Tabor in southeast Portland. This time, water from a different reservoir at the same location will be discarded after a 19-year-old was videotaped in the act of peeing.
Well, okay. So if the company that owns the reservoir sees it, they're the ones that admit it to everybody.
Well, I mean, there's a picture of this reservoir, and it's outside. It's just a big, huge,
Lake.
Tank
Yeah.
that's been created. I want to know what stops the birds from flying over this tank.
Nothing.
Okay,
Frogs.
What regulates the birds from pooping into this lake?
They
This
know
reservoir.
they know not to do that. Surely, I mean, this is drinking water for humans.
What I want to know is
They wouldn't dare poop in human drinking water. I mean, come on.
I would think the birds should have that kind of courtesy. I just wonder what the enforcement is. Do we have cameras in the sky? I mean, we have cameras around here making sure that, people aren't.
Teenagers.
Yeah. So the basic commandment of the Water Bureau is to provide clean water, cold and consistent water to its customers. Bureau Administrator David Schaff said on Wednesday. And the premise behind that is we don't have pee in it. Again, I mean,
Well, this really pisses me off.
not 19-year-old people pee maybe, but maybe seagull poo.
Seagull poo
Just
or frog poo,
Yep.
dead tadpoles.
Just
You filter the water before it becomes drinking
right,
water.
obviously.
Or
Just-
So it just aggravates me. And Portland, this is Portland, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so fairly liberal community built on
Yeah.
conservation and green ways of living. And so you're just going to dump
Dump it
38
all.
million
for
gallons
people who
when half
it.
of the country is actually in a very severe drought, including Texas where we live, and California.
yeah.
It's like,
Just as a side story, the other day at work, a bird flew into my car and pooped on my steering wheel. No,
Flew into your car?
yeah, I had it parked at work, and I had the window cracked like literally 4 inches, and this bird flew in, a mockingbird flew in, sat on my steering wheel, and crapped on it.
Wow.
It was frustrating.
Well, this is a little bit disturbing to me because, as you can see from the footage, this is exposed to the elements. And there are things that could get into that water. Okay, the bird poop was, my funny example, but, squirrels, anything could go in there to try and get a drink and choke on something and
Very small fence. A little iron fence.
right, that's not going to keep out a squirrel. So the open reservoirs hold water that has already been treated. So it goes directly into mains for distribution to customers. This is a case for bottled water.
Wait, what?
So the water's treated, then it goes into the reservoir, then it goes directly from the reservoir into the mainstream water supply for the city. Is that correct?
Apparently that's what they're saying.
So
One thing that's interesting, which I find interesting because I didn't actually read this entire article. I thought it was so ridiculous. We could just read it here. But urine poses little risk. Animals routinely deposit waste without creating public health crisis.
what?
But Schaff said
Shaft or shat?
Schaff said he doesn't want to serve water that was deliberately tainted.
Oh, so it's an issue of intent.
It's an issue of intent. This has nothing to do. Remember, I told you the topic of discussion today is justice. It has nothing to do with.
We'll show that kid. He'll never pee in a reservoir again.
He's probably going to go to jail in Oregon because he's cost the city 38 million gallons of water.
What if he just went skinny dipping but didn't pee?
Even if that was 1 cent a
Be
gallon,
no proof.
even if it cost him 1 cent a gallon to refill that, well, is it just rainwater? I guess it's already treated.
No, it's probably like wastewater that's been retreated.
It's probably every kind of water, rain, a river, any kind of well. They just accumulate it. I don't know.
No, they don't. It's probably wastewater that's been treated. It's probably part of a water treatment plant or something.
The dumb part is the
So
part where
you've already filtered out all the
right, but once it shouldn't be filtered before it gets to the reservoir. The reservoir should just hold it, and then it gets filtered into our sinks. That's the dumb part.
either way. I mean,
So he says, I didn't have a choice. I don't have the luxury of slicing it too thin when there's potential risk.
what was the risk again?
Okay, let me help you. However small to public health, Portland City Commissioner Nick Fish told the Oregon.
Wait,
So this is a guy named Fish.
So we have Shaft and
Nick
Fish.
Nick Fish is very, which understandably, he's pretty concerned about water. He breathes the stuff. I mean,
He's
so-
got gills.
yeah, we're talking to Nick the Fish. It doesn't say the here, but that's implied, I think. Frankly, it's one of those calls where, you're likely to be criticized no matter what. Okay, dumping 38 million gallons of water for however many ounces of pee that 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Anyway, the professionals who report to me all said, dump the water, don't take any chances. It's the conservative but correct call. Now, here's the question. What about that TV show where the guy drinks because he's dehydrated?
Right.
What was that
Survivor
show?
Man or
Man vs. Wild.
Yeah. There's several now.
Doesn't he pretty much drink his own pee all the time in every episode?
but a couple.
He's kind of famous for that. He's like,
and drinking gross things.
and it's like, all right, well, here's the problem. You've got cameramen. I kind of feel like they have bottled water.
He admits to drinking it. He admits to being helped. Like when he's out there, he's like, "Look, there's a couple things we set up to show you how to survive. This is not me surviving. That's what you can go watch Survivor Man."
So why does he drink his own pee-pee?
Because I guess telling you that it
Hey,
could save your life is not worth it.
That's
enough.
the same logic as this story. It's like, I don't actually need my own pee-pee because
Can we-
there's bottled water all around me that you can't see that's behind the cameras because the entire staff is drinking Coke.
Yeah.
But if I was in a situation and there was no one here,
This is how you would drink.
you couldn't survive, and it's sterile.
Well, it would be
You ever
dumb
s-
if he was like, I don't think it would make it as good as TV if he was like, you could. I ain't going to. If he's like, this is how you do it, and bottoms up.
You ever see
And then-
Dodgeball?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
sterile, and I like the taste.
Is
So-
it necessary for me to drink my own urine? No,
No.
but it's sterile and I like the taste.
So you did it. You did it better than me. So, justice. It is not just to dump 38 million gallons of water because some kid peed in it. When you have animals, admittedly, constantly depositing waste.
Here's justice. Make the kid drink all 38 million gallons.
Wow.
That would be justice.
How much time would you give him?
I don't know, but he'd really have to pee then.
And he better not pee in the reservoir anymore because then he might drink it.
Well, it'd be
It's
empty
a
then,
never-ending
so-
loop.
Yeah, I think better justice would be to put him at the reservoir for 24 hours, but just in a cube where he couldn't pee in the reservoir. Just
Just tie it off.
looking at the reservoir where he likes to go so much, but unable to, without just going on himself. That would be good justice. Because eventually he's going to cave. He's not going to go 24 hours. He's not going to make it. So he's
Cruel
going
and unusual
to.
punishment.
One of his legs is getting soaked, and be like, "See, that's what the reservoir felt like."
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. So the news. I don't know if the news is just getting better because of how much
BS.
how accessible our phones are, and everybody's their own reporter now. So there's so many stories that are just shocking now.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because so much stuff is BS. Maybe the news is just becoming honest.
Or
Okay.
we're just becoming calloused. I can't tell if it's just that there's so much news you can't possibly keep track of it all, or we're just becoming calloused. Case in point, do you remember when George Bush was speaking in one of the Arab countries and someone threw a shoe at him?
Yeah, the video's
too.
awesome. He dodges it quick.
Yeah, he did good. So Hillary Clinton is in Las Vegas, and somebody goes up and throws a shoe at her. Now, it was huge news when that happened to George Bush. But now I saw it and it was just a blurb on the
I didn't even know it happened.
spec. Yeah, it was just not. It was nothing. I mean, this girl walks up in the middle of her speech. She was in Las Vegas, Nevada, and she throws a shoe, and Hillary Clinton dodges it poorly. I mean, it didn't hit her, so but it wasn't really a lot of credit to her, which I think she might be blind in one eye or something.
Hillary?
I think she has an eye thing.
Her glasses do seem to get thicker.
Yeah, she's got. I think in one of the eyes she. Anyway, I don't know. I want to speculate because I don't know. I don't want to say something wrong, but anyway, she kind of winced, and luckily the shoe didn't hit her. So they arrested the girl, and they've let the girl go free.
Free speech.
Free assault? Attempted assault?
Yeah. A woman was taken into federal custody Thursday after throwing a shoe at Hillary Clinton. The incident happened moments after Clinton took the stage before an Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries meeting at the Mandalay Bay Resort.
Seems
Okay.
important.
If you're at the scrap recycling...
She went from Secretary of State to speaking in front of scrap recyclers.
Well, I think she was going to be...
Sheeny, man.
I think she's going to be trying to run for president. I don't think she's going to win, but I mean, she wants... she wants as much attention as she can get. And if you got a whole bunch of people, it doesn't matter what they're there for. So, anyway, did not appear to be hit by the object. She joked about it. And they basically arrested this girl. And it was over. And I was like, who is this person? Who's the person who,
Who's the horrible person?
Yeah, like
that threw that?
why would they do it? I don't understand. Well, there's a very good answer that we have not heard, at least not in the mainstream media. Her name is Allison Michelle Ernst. She's the one who threw the shoe at Hillary Clinton. I did a Google search of Allison Michelle Ernst, who was arrested and let go, and I want to know who this person is. What could possibly be her motive? And I found a lawsuit that she has against James Holmes. James Holmes is the guy who shot the Aurora. Went into the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, and shot a whole bunch of people in the theater.
Okay.
So she has a lawsuit against James Holmes. So she's filed for a restraining order
Against him? Okay.
And I will read for you
I think
the
he's in
restraining
jail.
order that I found that I'm surprised is not on the news. I feel like this is an entertaining news story in my opinion. I was fascinated. Allison Michelle Ernst, lawsuit against James Holmes, United States District Court, District of Delaware. What was she doing in Las Vegas? I don't know.
So, but she also doesn't live in Colorado?
She lives in neither.
She lives in Delaware?
Um,
Like, was she personally impacted by the Colorado shooting?
Yeah,
Okay.
and not the shooting itself, but actually James Holmes. She's got the restraining order against James Holmes. Comes now the plaintiff facing imminent danger and bodily harm from defendant James Holmes. I seek a restraining order from James Holmes, entering my mind through subliminal messaging and causing me to be obsessed with him on a daily basis.
What?
I am the Allison Michelle Ernst that came to court with a bald head and red dress. I look like G.I. Jane. James Holmes also won't write me. He ignores all my letters. I write him to prison. James Holmes is innocent and has been framed by the U.S. government for New World Order. I created a Facebook group called James Holmes is Innocent.
I'm looking that up right now.
Oh my gosh.
Filed a
That is so not okay.
James Holmes I have filed the restraining order to have this James Holmes mind manipulation to stop. I watched Inception, so I am fully aware.
She really put this?
This is an official court document.
This is an official court document with the District Court of Delaware.
Oh my gosh.
To have James Holmes' mind manipulation to stop, I watched Inception, so I am fully aware of James Holmes' magical powers and also his neo-science studies, which now James enters my head like Dennis Quaid in Inner Space, and he zooms to my heart and plays with it and,
What?
and forces me to care for him.
What?
Yes.
No, that's
This is
This is awesome.
No,
That- yeah,
stop
that
it. Stop it. She's not insane. She's the victim. That's why she threw the shoe at Hillary.
A victim of
I'm
inception.
trying to give you a reason why she threw the shoe at Hillary Clinton, and I'm giving it to you, and you're mocking it. You didn't let me finish.
No, okay. All right. You're right. We didn't finish.
He zooms to my heart and plays with it and forces me to care for him. James sent me naked photos of himself in a Joker outfit, which offends me.
Wait.
What? No.
How are they naked photos in a Joker outfit?
He probably had his face painted or something, but that's insane. Oh my god.
He was wearing a crotchless Joker outfit.
I see. Okay, can I interject something real quick?
It's like Joker chaps.
Just because I think this adds to the story. I went to the James Holmes is Innocent Facebook page,
Okay.
as just mentioned,
Okay.
and it's a private group, but it has 634 members. And the
Are you a member?
no, not currently, but I'm thinking about joining.
Soon.
He might zoom to you.
I often like to be in my naked Joker costume.
Gross. Don't send me any pictures. You're not sending it to her and posing as James.
No.
Okay.
Like
That would be breaking.
I mean, I wouldn't admit that.
It's
either.
actually Mark Buman.
Surprise.
San Antonio, Texas.
So, but wait, the what's this the cover image on the Facebook page
Mhm.
is James Holmes is Innocent spelled out in llama cartoons. So each letter is a llama
Well, yeah.
curved in a certain way to make the letters James Holmes is Innocent.
She's very
Okay.
yeah. She's very creative. All right. Holmes won't even look at me when he is in court, and this offends me. My life and skin. James Holmes is being framed. The number of inconsistencies and questions continue to grow in the movie theater massacre in Aurora, Colorado. At first, I was pleasantly surprised that they would let us see more of the courtroom proceedings. When we walked into the courtroom, it immediately fueled the exact kind of debate the powers that be do not want us having. I've often thought that.
Totally agree.
Such as, we are being manipulated, and by whom? Because once we reach a consensus on that, then the power elite have lost control of the game, or control of the operation. So,
Oh my gosh.
she goes on to just say they're trying to Timothy McVeigh him, blah, blah. He talks about Timothy McVeigh.
So, what about Hillary?
She's the government.
How does she
She
come
was
in?
really throwing a shoe at society.
I'm getting to that. Why would his lawyers continue to let him keep his dyed red hair? Why have they been allowed to represent him even after his father came into town?
Your father's not a lawyer. He can't represent you just because he's your dad. I mean, that doesn't seem. Is that legal?
In this mega conspiracy,
Mega conspiracy.
yeah, the Aurora Police Chief Dan Oates has secret ties with 9/11. James was
Hitler was flying the plane.
James
That's a fact.
James was set up with a false flag attack, which happens before and during every Olympics.
What?
Can we define false flag?
That's when a country, that would be like if I were to attack you and I was to wave a country that I'm not. Like for instance, here's an example of a false
Like
flag.
I'm Japan, but I'm waving the British flag. Hey.
Right, and so they say the
Where you-
British did this. So here's an example of an actual. Here's an example of an actual.
That
false
happens
flag.
every Olympics.
Every Olympics, exactly. So here's an example of a real one. There are people from, supposedly, this is rumor, but there are people from Ukraine who are pro Russia doing things, or there are Russians who are posing as Ukrainians, doing things to instigate.
Okay.
You know, or with the ranchers, you know, there's people from California coming in and threatening the government, trying to escalate it. You know, it's like you pose as one group, but you do the opposite thing that causes the reaction. That would be a false flag.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's a shipping term. So you've got the flag on the ship. You know, if you're flying the British flag, but you're actually, you know, a Ruski ship.
Oh.
So anyway,
So what is it? Okay, so she threw the shoe at Hillary as a conservative.
yeah, the topic here is justice, and she obviously is demanding it. She asked for James Holmes to be released to her custody, and
I will be taking care of you now.
I'll take care of him.
Yeah.
I'll feed him. I'll bathe him.
I will make sure he does not get near any movie theaters. And I swear on my life he will not get in a movie theater.
But she has the restraining order as protection, so he can be released to her custody, but she also has a restraining order. But the restraining order is primarily for the mind manipulation.
Right.
So physically he could be released to her, but
when it comes to Inception,
he
he's
can't-
right there anyway.
You can't enter her heart and
play with it. Yeah, because
any longer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a court document here from the state of Delaware.
Oh,
So
damn, that's legit.
anyway, I feel like that should have been a story.
That's a great
I
story.
feel like a lot of news people should
That's
have
hilarious.
talked about that.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, if we could find that, then surely.
This is breaking news. You heard it first in the WLO.
Yeah.
It took one search of her name, and it was the second link down.
Okay.
I exhausted myself to bring you something unique.
You had to make sure her name was spelled right.
Oh, and everything. I mean, it goes on and on,
right,
Michael.
right.
It
We
goes
can't
on
even.
and on.
We don't even have enough time to cover.
Okay, this is the definition of justice. The quality of being just, impartial, or fair. The principle or ideal of just dealing or right action. Conformity to this principle or ideal, righteousness. This is from Merriam-Webster. I didn't write this. This is not smooth because I'm just reading whatever the strict definition is. Okay, This isn't what I'm just coming up off the top of my head, but it's also not meant to be in a story form that's nice. Okay, this is just a conformity to truth, fact, or reason. Okay, and I want to have a discussion with you two today about justice, and we're going to look at a few cases. And I want to know what you guys think. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I
Let's
was
go.
born ready.
Let's do
All
this.
right.
All right.
I hope this story headline. I hope you die in prison. Judge's scathing words for a woman convicted of killing her boyfriend. So this girl in Michigan, which is where Michael and I are from.
Hey, and Mark.
Where the heck am
Hey,
I from?
hey.
Mars?
You know, I'm trying to tell a story here.
Well,
I'm trying to tell a story here. Michael and I are both from Michigan,
right.
which is where the story takes place.
I hear it's beautiful there.
It is. You should
You
visit.
yeah, maybe you could visit me and Michael sometime.
Springtime is great.
Okay. A Michigan judge had scathing words Wednesday for a woman convicted of murdering her boyfriend, telling her in court, I hope you die in prison. Carnia Garnett, who's 31, was convicted of first-degree murder in the stabbing and beating death of Marcel Hill, but only rolled her eyes and laughed while the victim's family members spoke out. So she just didn't have a good attitude. She had a smirk on her face and was basically showed no remorse for killing her boyfriend.
With a knife, right? She
Stabbed him over and over again.
Jeez.
Jackson County Circuit Court Judge John McBain made clear he would not tolerate Garnett's behavior in the courtroom. You're going to shut your mouth or I'm going to have some duct tape put on it, McBain said.
Love it.
Hill was stabbed 11 times. WXYZ reported Garnett had a history of violence against him. You gutted him like a fish, McBain said. You stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Bam.
Well, I like this judge.
I like him too.
Okay. So my question is, why do you, I mean, my sentiments are probably similar.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you see eye to eye with the judge? Why do you feel that way for this, in this case?
I guess when it comes to justice, it's a little bit hard because if somebody doesn't act,
Mhm.
and then you're like, oh, you got caught, and now it's out. So what are we gonna do about this? And then they're like, oh crap, I really wanna change. Then you feel like the punishment should be less, but it could hinge on whether they're a good actor or not. But then if she's just like, well, I do it again, then you don't feel bad about putting him away for life or
Okay.
giving him a chair. So on one hand, I say it is just because of her demeanor, but in the back of my brain, it's playing devil's advocate and saying, well, if she was a good enough actor, she could be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and maybe get a lesser punishment with that, which isn't fair.
I don't think she'd get 11 punishment. I mean, she stabbed him 11 times, killed him in cold blood, and
What I think, and I don't know, I didn't read the whole story, but what I see is if she stabs him, there's an X amount of years you get,
Mhm.
and there's no escaping that. You say this is yours, bam, you're done. And then after, if everything's proven, it's totally legit. After, if you're like, you're just, I hope you die in prison. This is ridiculous. You're insane. I don't feel bad for you going to prison at all. Then that doesn't really matter. That's up to personal opinion. I don't think that affects. I mean, the sentence is set, and that's that. And so whatever the judge says, even if the judge is like, you know what, I don't really think it's fair. Maybe you should come out earlier, but you can't. So 25 years it is, or the chair, or whatever it is. It's like, well, that's what we've set up through lengthy discussion on what is just for punishment.
okay.
Well, I think that the punishment should be the same regardless of how remorseful you are.
Right.
Sometimes we do allow a lesser punishment based on the remorse of the perpetrator. That does happen.
Okay.
And so the just thing would be the same punishment
Right.
for everyone, I think.
Right.
Because the crime isn't changed by how remorseful that you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry you experienced that remorse now, and that's great, but that doesn't change what you did. So the punishment is the same. The thing I like about this story, or I like about the judge, is because when you have somebody with such a degree of arrogance after committing such a heinous act, they deserve to be put in their place.
And he wasn't afraid to do it.
And he wasn't afraid to do it. So it wasn't just or unjust for the judge to say what he said the way that he said it. It was just kind of cool that he did.
Yeah, that's what I'm essentially saying. The punishment was the same, so that's what we already agree with that. So if he says something like that, I'm cool with it.
Okay. So your sentiment is got it. All right. So let me see here. I'm gonna skip.
You're gonna skip.
Do you
one.
hear in South Korea this week? This ferry, which was carrying hundreds of people. What?
I just know where this is going. I'm excited. I was hoping when you said skip, I was like, oh, don't skip that one. That's the fun one.
That's a fun one. Hundreds of people died.
Like
in-
400
No,
teenagers
that's not-
died.
No, that's not what I meant. That's
So fun.
No, that's absolutely not what I meant. I meant if we're gonna
Let me-
skip over one, this is the
okay.
one.
Let
We're
me
breaking
tell
news
you.
to people.
Let me tell you. I'm gonna read you Michael's fun story.
Oh God.
Heartbreaking text message exchanges between students trapped in the sinking ferry off the coast of South Korea and their anxious parents are offering a glimpse into the desperate situation in the crippled vessel.
Oh, I feel really bad now.
As you should.
Dad, don't worry, I've got a life vest on and we're huddled together, one 18-year-old student, identified only by her last name, Shin, texted to her father. Her father replied, I know the rescue is underway, but make your way out if you can. Dad, I can't walk out, she replied. The corridor is full of kids and it's too tilted. The student is among the 287 still reported missing.
Oh, jeez.
Fun story, Michael. I was going to skip it, but Michael said, don't skip the fun one.
Oh no!
This would be so fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, not fun. Okay.
Well, we're going to get to the fun part here, Michael.
All right.
All right, it gets funner.
Oh, good.
In another exchange, a male student texted his mother, who was unaware at the time that the ferry was in distress. Mom, I might not be able to tell you in person. I love you.
Oh,
The student
man.
texted according to MSNBC. Me too, son. I love you, the mother texted back, followed with 3 heart symbols. Michael, tell a joke.
No, I can't. There's nothing to say.
But it's such a fun story.
That wasn't the point. It's not what I meant. Oh, geez.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. Fortunately, that student was among the 179 people who have been rescued.
Oh, that's at least
So,
good.
anyway, survivors told harrowing tales of confusion and desperation as people slid along the floor of the sharply tilted ship, colliding with one another or found themselves trapped in cabins by a wall of water. Rescued passengers said that immediately after they heard a booming noise, the ship began listing, and they heard an announcement over the ship's PA system telling the passengers to stay in place. Oops.
Did they hit something?
I mean, he took a sharp corner. I'm not sure if he hit something, but there's like 28 confirmed dead, but there's still like 270 people missing.
Trapped.
So that number is expected to go, way up from
Right.
28.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what happened in 9/11. They said, "Oh, just stay put. We don't want chaos in their hands because they didn't know what was coming."
Mhm.
So it's kind of like we
Would they
wish so
expect-
bad in hindsight.
There were people on the Titanic who, they didn't put all the lifeboats in the water because they didn't recognize the severity of the situation. They just sort of lived in doubt. There were people in the World Trade Towers that, although they left the building, went back and turned off their computers and gathered their belongings and turned off the lights while they were leaving. And that was sometimes the difference between the ones who got out and the ones who didn't, because, it came down to seconds for some of them. Some of them got out within just a couple seconds, and some of the people who went back to just do something normal. I mean, you just have this idea that life is going to keep going normal, and so you act that way. So the reason I told that story, Michael, was partially because it's fun, just like you said, but also, on the justice side of it, the South Korean ferry captain was taken into custody. The captain of the sunken ship ferry in South Korea was taken into custody on Friday and is facing 5 charges, including criminal negligence. Captain Lee Jun-seuk, 68, is also charged with abandoning the ship, negligence, causing bodily injury, and not seeking rescue from other ships. Lee was not charged with manslaughter. Okay?
It's exactly manslaughter.
Apparently, he hesitated for a half an hour before giving passengers the direction to abandon the ship. Stay put, stay put. I mean, he was trying to think, okay, I think I can fix it.
My job's
It's a huge ferry, but the captain of the ship isn't supposed to leave. I don't know if you remember when that cruise ship went.
Mm-hmm.
That captain from Italy was ordered to go back because there were still living people on there.
Mm-hmm.
They were, it wasn't like it sunk to the bottom. It was just tipped over and people were trapped.
Right.
And he went home. And so he was actually...
Honey, you would not believe the day I had.
Yeah, he's watching the news at home.
Oh
And he was ordered to go back onto the ship because you're the captain of the ship. The captain of the ship on sea law
Goes
is
down.
that you will go down with the ship or you are the last to leave.
Absolutely.
So he abandoned his own ship.
Little girl.
So Lee was one of the 179 survivors.
Hope he feels
28 people are confirmed dead, but the number is expected to spike drastically with 270 still missing.
good.
So, does he deserve to get charged with those?
Yeah.
Does your sense of justice, does it do any good to punish the captain? Because presumably it was an accident. He didn't drive it into the, he didn't scream over the microphone, life's not worth living anymore, and then do a 360-degree turn, which caused the ship to capsize.
Right. He didn't.
He made a mistake.
You have to look at, in this case, I think it's a little bit trickier because you have to look at the crime committed. An accident is an accident. And so if you didn't intentionally cause the sinking of the ship,
Right.
if it was beyond your control whether or not the ship sank or not, you can't be held accountable for something like that. I don't know the specifics of what led to the sinking ferry, but you can hold him accountable to what he is supposed to do as captain. And so If anything, he needs to be charged for fleeing the ship. He's supposed to be the
'Cause he
last one
knew.
off. So you go down, or you're the last one off. That's what he should be charged for. I don't know if he should. I don't think he should necessarily be charged with manslaughter for 400 deaths or whatever it ends up coming to.
270.
I mean,
He's
but-
missing.
And the death thing, I think that's a little bit debatable. But I would say if you know the rules going in, you absolutely should get charged for those rules. I mean, I know the rules going into my job. I have to do this, and if I don't do them, then if I lose my job, I have nothing to complain about. It's like, well,
But this would be prison. I mean, this would be a much different.
right.
This would be 270 cases of negligence or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. So, my point was, Mark just said you've got to look at the intent of the person. So, Mark, if you can help explain, you said on the first case, it doesn't matter how you feel about it after the fact. You did it. You did the crime. You do the time.
Mm-hmm.
Very cut and dry.
Yep.
In this case, the difference being, well, you did the crime, but you didn't intend to.
Nope, not what I said.
No, that's why I said clarify.
I'm clarifying.
Don't call me out and make. I'm trying to understand. I did my best to hear.
Liar!
I've been listening to what you say, and if I've misunderstood,
Okay.
that's why I'm asking to clarify.
Let me clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody, two people commit a murder.
Let's say 3. Does that mess up your analogy?
It doesn't make it any more
All right,
clear.
I'll go ahead and. All right, the 2 is fine.
Okay, so two people commit a murder. Same way.
Then there's no people.
One is remorseful and one is not. No.
Sorry, I'll let you go.
There are 4 people total. 2 people kill the other 2 people.
Like, were they related? I think if I knew the race of the people,
Would it affect your decision?
it wouldn't affect my decision, but it would give me a better picture in my mind. Also,
Pirates.
Also,
The pirates.
were the women killing the men? Was it all men? Was one of them a child?
Sure. This is impossible.
Okay, I will stop. Okay, you are my witness. I will stop, Mark. I actually do want to hear. Okay, go ahead.
So there's a clear crime, right? Murder.
Got it.
Bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Both perpetrators committed the same crime. After the fact, one becomes remorseful. They're sorry that they committed the crime. The other one is not. The crime is the same, right? And so we judge the perpetrators based on the crime, and we punish them accordingly in both instances, regardless of how they feel after the fact. Okay?
Okay.
So the ship sinks. So what is the crime? Is the crime that the ship sank?
It was an accident.
So
He
far,
shouldn't
it doesn't
have done
sound like he committed any criminal activity that led to the sinking of the ship. So is he personally responsible for all those deaths in a way that could lead to a conviction against him for all those deaths? So far, based on what I know, it sounds like no.
Okay.
Okay? So the crime then, the question is, what then is the crime, if there's any? So we know maritime law is that you don't, as the captain of the ship, you don't leave the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless everyone else is off. So that's the crime. He broke that law, and he should be convicted based on that law, not necessarily all the deaths. So I'm not taking into play his reaction after the fact or how he feels about it. I'm just asking the question, what was the actual crime? If it comes out that he actually had a bomb in the ship and he detonated the bomb that led to the sinking, then yeah, he's responsible for all those deaths and he should be convicted for every single one of them.
Okay.
That's pretty fair.
So the consensus here is there are 2 kinds of things you can be convicted for. Doing something wrong or not doing something that you're obligated to do right.
Sure. You
And
took
doing something
responsibility.
wrong directly is worse than not doing something right.
Is that what you
is
got
your-
from what I said?
That's what I got. I mean, yeah, because I mean, basically, you're saying he didn't do the crime. He didn't put himself in the situation intentionally. It wasn't like he did something wrong to get himself in the situation, but the way he reacted was his only crime.
Well, okay. Well, our dad's an
Yeah,
controller.
but the crime is a crime. It's the same thing as a car accident. You get into a car accident and you, because of the car accident, the other driver dies. Now, you would not be convicted of that person's death if it was purely an accident and nobody was really doing anything wrong legally.
Right.
It was just a freak accident and somebody died. You stay, you tried to help, you called 911, you did
Right.
everything you could, and you would not be convicted of that crime, right? That you wouldn't be convicted, it wouldn't be viewed as a crime. The crime in that instance would be if you fled the scene and it was a hit and run or something like that. You didn't do what you were supposed to do.
In the end result of their death would not bleed into your hit and run or stay.
Right, and the crime you would be convicted of would be fleeing the scene, not murder.
Right, that's fair.
Which is what he did.
Right.
So anyway, he's convicted. So
This doesn't mean
that's
if this
just-
show goes wrong, I'm responsible, right? Because I'm the captain of the.
Michael, you are
have
the
to think
captain
about
of nothing. Maybe the Cadillac in the driveway.
Well, the best part about my job is I can just be like, bam.
It is kind of a boat. What?
You're right. I'm not the captain, Dave. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should have pressed that
So,
button.
the great thing is during the 1 hour that we're live, Michael can shut me up. And for some reason, he thinks that once the cameras turn off and we still live in the same house, that there couldn't possibly
I
be
didn't pre-
any
I
ramifications
didn't
to
pre-plan that
what
at all.
happened during the show. It's like, hey, as long as the people are on, hey, listen, he knows. He's right. It's like a kid in the grocery store. As long as we're in the grocery store, I can do whatever I want because I'm not going to get spanked. The kid doesn't realize he's going to go home.
Davey, I don't want to get spanked.
I'm not spanking you. All right, so here's the next story. Okay. And I'll be very interested in what you had to say about this, Michael.
Oh,
No.
I'm not saying it's fun.
Yeah, I want to know, is this a
This
fun?
is a serious
This is a fun.
story.
Okay. This guy, system failed. Man who never served 13-year sentence has now been put away. Okay, this guy, sorry, his name is Cornelius Mike Anderson, was sentenced back in 2002 to go to prison for 13 years. The reason why he was sentenced to prison for 13 years was because in 1999 he was involved in an armed robbery of an assistant Burger King manager. So the Burger King manager is making a money deposit, and he goes in armed robbery with like his cousin. Steal the money, get caught, and he gets sentenced to 13 years in jail.
Okay.
When he gets sentenced, they tell him, all right, you're free to go home. We're going to
Pick you up.
come pick you up. Just go home for now and wait for further instructions. Your sentence is going to start here in the next day or two. So brace yourself. So this guy goes home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next day comes and they don't pick him up. And the next day after that comes, they don't pick him up. And the next day comes after and they don't pick him up. Since 2002.
Holy cow.
So since then, he met a girl. He fell in love.
Aw.
He
So cute.
he became a carpenter. Together,
He became a what?
carpenter.
Oh.
He's a carpenter.
I thought I said doctor. I was like, wow.
No, carpenter.
Carpenter's good too. I don't mean to like bash carpenters, but
He's a doctor of wood.
Absolutely.
let's rephrase.
Yeah. So, he got married, and he had since between now and since 2002, he's had 4 children.
What are their names?
I don't know their names, Michael. Thank you for contributing in that way, though.
I wish so bad I'd said this was a fun story.
This is a fun story. So,
So now they come to pick him up. I'm
13
guessing.
13 years later,
13 years later.
you guessed the punchline correctly. They
Nice,
came to
Mark. Nailed it.
They came to his door with like snipers and stuff like that.
SWAT.
Yeah.
On the ground! On the ground!
Yeah, why did I say snipers? They didn't have snipers. They had
If he
SWAT.
runs, we're dropping him.
Yeah, they had SWAT.
Okay.
So this guy's been pulled over. He's paid his tickets. Like in the last 12 years, they've seen he's had a traffic violation.
On the straight and narrow.
He has paid his income tax for the last 13 years.
For real?
Yeah.
He's not off the radar at all.
No. Yeah, and he's kept his same name. He has not hidden who he is one bit.
Okay.
But they basically, somebody in a clerical error had put him as serving or something, and nobody ever went and picked this guy up. Well, they just found out last year. Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't this guy supposed to go to jail?
Wait, where's Terry?
Around the time that he was supposed to come out. So now they're like, well, this guy's lived the last 13 years as a very fine, upstanding member of society. He made a mistake when he was a teenager with his cousin, which was wrong, and he did do it, and he was convicted, and so there's no question about whether or not he did the crime, as far as I can tell. He's not denying that. But now they've put him in jail. They put him in jail last July, and he's been in jail ever since then. And he began his 13-year sentence in July.
He's got 4 kids and everything.
4 kids, family, business, all this. And so what he's protesting, or what his lawyers are working towards, is asking for clemency and basically saying the purpose of jail is for rehabilitation. And while we admit that he did this 13 years ago and he should not have, he has demonstrated 13 years of being a pillar of society, not just somebody who's not a problem, but he's actually contributed. He's always paid his taxes. He's a good guy. Still married. He's got 4 kids. And so let's call this a wash. We made a mistake. You made a mistake. Let him out. He was supposed to be done right now. So here's the question. He still robbed the Burger King. He still did it. And he has actually never served any time, and he never got any punishment for it. But now, 13 years later, after an honest mistake, what should be done and why?
Well,
Michael. I'm just kidding, Mark.
I'm going home.
No, I'm just kidding.
So my initial reaction was his sentence was for 13 years, and they waited, or they forgot about him for 13 years.
Probably because it's like, hey, it's time for this guy to come out.
Where is he?
Yeah. If he had been sentenced to 100 years,
there's pillows underneath the blanket.
If he was sentenced for 100 years, they probably would have never found him.
Yeah.
So my initial reaction was, it was the state's responsibility to go get him, right? And they didn't for 13 years. This guy hasn't done anything wrong in 13 years.
Well, he did speed.
He sped, but he paid the ticket.
It's against the law, though.
So, anyway.
Dave just changed the whole game.
Jail for speeders.
Convict him, double it.
Please don't do that, because I've been in jail many times over.
Oh, brother, me
Chair.
too.
I'd be in once.
So my initial reaction was, no, you don't put him in jail because of your mistake. I'm sorry, but
you messed it up.
If you caught it 10 years later, then you would have a case to put him in jail for 3 years.
Right.
I think that would be just. I think that would be fair. So on our chat, which you can participate in by going to the chat box under under the video, CP said that, did he really think they would just forget about him? I said, I'm not sure, but it doesn't sound like he was hiding. And CP replied, I usually call my ride when they're late to pick me up, just saying. So if he is now this moral, upright
you
guy,
call your ride or somewhere you want to go.
Did he have a responsibility to say, hey, it's been a month. Are you guys coming to get me? Because I've got to serve this 13 years and I'd like to get it over with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, CP's kind of got a point there, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I think he knew he did was wrong. He'd already been caught for it. He should have said, hey, I mean, it's not the thing that anybody would do, but you had somebody drive past our house while the truck was parked on the street and blow the window up, the little mirror. And we were like, I was like, nuts. Well, that sucks. All of a sudden, the guy knocks on the door and says, hey, about an hour ago I hit that and I had to run home, but now I'm back. It's like, well, you did what was wrong. And now it was up to us to say, or it was up to you because it's your truck. It's up to say, yeah, give me your insurance information. I got to have this paid for. Or say, you know what, you did the good thing and I'm going to let you go. So it should really, I mean, it's hard, but I would say put him in jail.
Okay.
What about the statute of limitations? So that's another comment we have by JCVD fan.
Mhm.
Is there a statute of limitations in this instance? Would that apply?
There's not, and I will say that CP is right. I really think this is a matter of opinion, and that was why I wanted to have this discussion. But what the prosecution is citing is the issue of, look, it's all fine and good. Hey, count your blessings, you got away with it. But yeah, we didn't pick you up. Sorry, but you should have called us. Now, and what I was trying to get at is a larger issue of why do anything. The argument is, why do anything? Is it just that somebody has arbitrarily put these laws into place and we have to obey the law of the United States or in South Korea? Or is there something deeper? Is there another law? In my opinion, there is a principle behind, if somebody were to, come in here and, shoot one of you guys,
Hopefully Mark.
I was going to say hopefully Mark as well.
What the heck?
He's family. I was kidding. If somebody were to come in here and shoot Mark,
Just put me out of my misery. I welcome it at this point.
and then run away.
You guys wouldn't even do anything.
Mark would be.
Would you chase him?
Mark would be dead.
Well, we'd have a mess on our hands in the studio.
Mark would be dead.
Uh-huh.
And we would have a mess on our hands in the studio.
Yeah.
And so with the only thing, since you can't do anything now because you're dead.
Clearly.
Yeah. So is really the only thing at this point to clean up the studio? No. There's a sense of
Bury me in the backyard.
Well, here's the thing, we
I'd throw
can't
you
do
over
anything
the
for
fence.
you anymore. You're gone.
No, you can call the cops, bring justice to my murderer.
That would have been a good point if you were able to speak. So
I hate this.
all right, Mark, you're back to life in this fictional reality.
Okay, no. Okay, so
can
are you
contribute.
going and then 10 years later we find him?
It's a philosophical. No. I'm saying we catch him right now.
Oh.
But
Sorry.
nothing we can do can bring Mark back
Okay.
to him.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So what he's done is done, and there's nothing we can do to undo what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made a mess in the studio. God. And so at this point, the only thing we can do to make it is to get rid of Mark's body and to clean the studio.
Right.
So if we make him do that, has he paid for his sin? Of course not. We like Mark. This guy should go away for at least a year.
Yeah, maybe more.
Society's lost Mark.
Maybe more.
If anyone wants to be my friend, I'm currently looking for new friends. So
I'm just kidding. And so really that was what I was trying to get at. So this guy, Rob's a Burger King assistant manager of Burger King.
Right.
Doesn't actually pay his time because we made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But then demonstrates over the next 13 years that he's not a threat to society. He's not what he appeared to be before. Okay? So I'm going to get rid of that. Page is thrown because we're running out of time here. Mm-hmm. I should have never talked about the reservoir in pee-pee. I regret that decision because we got to, I have a point. I have a point here that I was trying to make, but I'm not going to be able to make it. But we will still have our discussion. Okay, 91-year-old former Nazi convicted of 28,600 counts of accessory to murder. Okay, this guy's 91 years old, but they found his. They know who he is. They found his identification from when he was, he actually worked in the internment camps and was party to the death of I don't know how they got the number 28,000. There's way more Jews that were killed, so they didn't just assign him every single Jew that was killed in Germany to this guy.
Maybe that was everyone in his
concentration camp. I think it was. And so this guy, not remorseful, denies it's him. They've got tons of proof.
Kill him.
Nope.
And,
not me.
Gas him.
Yeah. So he died before he actually served any time. But he was 91.
Well, he's gonna rot in hell. So.
But They still put him away. They still charged him, and they were still going to sentence him. And
Wait, he died during his sentencing?
now he died before he actually went to jail.
Okay, so
That's not part of the story.
Did he?
The point is, I shouldn't have even said that. The point is, we got this old guy,
He waited for 91 years and was never picked up.
and we didn't find him. We didn't know who he was, but when we discovered it, we realized he was a really evil dude.
Mhm.
They charged him, and so it's like it doesn't matter how much time had gone.
Yeah, but
He was killing people.
a lot of people.
Okay.
So there is an element of justice that takes into account the nature of the crime.
Okay.
So was anybody killed? I'm assuming you're kind of relating this back to the 13-year
Well,
prison guy.
it's not that I'm trying to relate to that. It's the topic of justice and the concept of justice that I'm trying to. I mean, like I'm posing you I've taken stories out of the news, and I'm framing it in such a way that I'm getting you to think about, okay, what does my sense of justice demand in this case? And the only thing I'm trying to point out is that for some reason, it's not black and white. For some reason, depending on the case, you feel differently about it. And so it can't just be a letter of a law that was just written as it is, voted in by politicians. But there's actually something inside each of us that we all have a sense of justice that has to be, justified.
Well, I think that's a good part, honestly, of our justice system, because very rarely, I can't think of a specific example where it would contradict the statement I'm about to make, but the severity of the punishment for crimes is generally left up either to the judge or the jury. So we have sentencing, and we give people not only the verdict, guilty or not guilty, but then we have another session where we give them their punishment. And it is left, in our current system, it is kind of left up to the discretion of the jury or the judge, depending on the nature of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing. Sometimes we get it wrong, which is, you're always, when you give that sort of leeway, sometimes you're going to get it wrong and sometimes you're going to get it right, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. But I think that's kind of a good thing about our system.
Okay.
We leave it open for that kind of black and white or that gray scenario.
that's a good point.
So here is a system that is foreign to us. This is a story that takes away from the system that we all know in the United States. This is in the Middle East, where it's not up to the state. It's not up to the system. It's up to the victim. The victim decides. A rare last-minute pardon for a convicted killer who was already standing on a chair with a noose around his neck and is being discussed passionately among Iranians. This is in Iran. Particularly because an Iranian news agency captured photos as the dramatic event unfolded. The Sharia law, the man in the noose was identified by British media as Bilal, who is now in his 20s. We had a picture of him. 7 years ago, he stabbed 18-year-old Abdullah Hosanzada with a kitchen knife, killing him after they got in a fight. Okay, so he gets in a fight and the guy stabs him with a kitchen knife. Iran follows the Sharia system of retribution, like the principle of an eye for an eye, where traditionally only the victim's family is able to issue pardon from execution.
What?
And so
That's interesting.
basically,
That's interesting.
this guy, 18, they're teenagers. One kills another one and they're in a fight. And so he's sentenced to death. And the only way the law could recognize a pardon or help this guy out is if the actual victim's family were to say, don't kill him. We forgive him.
Holy cow.
And so that doesn't happen because your kid's dead. You want that guy to be dead too. and you don't mind watching him hang. But the victim's mother said, no, got all the way to the point where the guy's crying and standing on the chair with a noose around his neck. All they got to do is kick the chair out, and he's done. And the mother says, stop. I don't want this to happen. I pardon him. And under Sharia law, they no longer have to kill him because the victim doesn't need to see that justice. And so this got me to thinking, if if I see a guy hit a woman, there's something inside of me that tells me that that guy needs to be hit. And not just hit once or the same as he hit the girl, but actually hit harder.
And more.
And more. Okay? Because my sense of justice that's built in me says you don't hit a woman who's weaker than you. You don't hit a woman prince in
What if she
They're
was like
stronger
a
than you,
what if
then
she was
go
like a
for it.
bodybuilder?
Don't do that. It's only my game.
You took it there.
Okay. So my sense of justice says this guy needs to be hit, and not just hit once, needs to be hit 3 or 4 times. And the whole point is so that that guy understands that what he did was wrong and that he doesn't do that again. However, if I were able to actually experience what he was experiencing, and so I knew somehow miraculously, without a shadow of a doubt, that this guy felt terrible, immediately knew his mistake, and made a commitment to himself never to hit another woman again, and I could somehow intuitively feel and make that decision with him and actually understand him from that kind of a level, well, I would be a lot less, I wouldn't feel the need to hit him anymore.
Right.
Because it's sort of like by me hitting him, it's not that I just needed him to feel being hit. It was the fact that I needed him to understand. I needed him to come to this conclusion that I had come to as soon as I saw it happen.
Right.
And so if I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, which I can't as a separate person, but if I could somehow know without a shadow of a doubt that he just was wrecked over it and that he honestly had turned himself around and said, okay, that I've done, that I know is wrong, and I will never do it again, then I wouldn't really need to hit him anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for my case, in the case of the 13-year victim, my opinion is, look, you were supposed to serve 13 years because that's what justice says. We made a mistake and we didn't actually make you serve that time. But I don't think the state, I mean the state obviously has to enforce that type of thing. I'm not trying to say the state wouldn't. But in the case of this where it's like, okay, the state made a mistake, they dropped the ball. If in a perfect world, I would go back to the victim and say, listen, here's the deal. What do you say? What do you say we let him go? And if that victim, the assistant who was held at gunpoint or whatever the victim experienced said, no, I will not feel a sense of justice unless that guy serves his just time. Then he serves his time.
Mm-hmm.
And if the victim says, oh man, I've totally forgot about it, and now that I see he's got 4 kids, I wouldn't want him to serve the time.
Yeah.
I think I can see that he has changed. I certainly don't hold a grudge. I'm able to forgive him. And so there's no reason to punish him because there's nothing going to be accomplished by the punishment.
That's fair.
So
Go ahead. There's kind of I don't know, there's kind of an interesting spiritual element to all this, too. Because, so I'm a Christian. As a Christian, I believe in the God of the Bible, and the God of the Bible is a just God, but also a God of grace. So it's just kind of interesting talking about all of this, the instances where we crave justice and where we also want to give grace, and then also the dynamic of where, with my personal relationship with God, of when I feel I deserve God's justice or his wrath, and he chooses to give grace that I don't deserve. So it's kind of, we're talking about a legal element here primarily, but there's great undertones of a spiritual battle, I think, that we all experience, whatever faith you are.
Well, if you believe in God, then certainly our sense of justice that we didn't ask for, that we didn't learn in school, that's just naturally in us, had to have been from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I do something that I shouldn't do and I feel guilty, what that guilt is and that feeling bad of, oh, I stole from someone. What do? I don't feel good about myself. Because, I need to return whatever I took. But even if I return what I took, that doesn't really fix the problem, because when I took something that wasn't mine from someone else, I actually violated that person. I mean, when I find out that someone stole something out of my truck, it's not that, I realized that, I got $300 less in my bank account than I thought. No, somebody took something from me, and there's that violation. So even if you return the stuff, you can't undo what you did. And today's Good Friday, and if you are a Christian, you might be going to church. If you're with family, a traditional family, you might be dragged to church on Easter. This is the weekend that, if you ever go, you go this weekend. And think about this conversation that we had. That sense of justice. When you do something, when you feel that guilt, it's because I am the one who now deserves to go to jail, get hit back, pick your thing, whatever justice would be for that. But you can't do that to yourself. You don't want it on yourself. And so you're kind of stuck with the feeling of, well, in a perfect world, I'd be going to jail for 13 years. In a perfect world, I'd be getting the chair. In a perfect world, someone would hit me 10 times for hitting that person once. But you can't, there's just no, you're left with just yourself, and you have to live with yourself. And it doesn't matter who you are, you've never done everything perfect. Every single one of us can think of what we did that one time that we knew better and we did anyway, and we wish we could go back and undo that. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to undo that, but that's what Easter is about for us as a Christian, is that somebody came in and paid the death penalty, even though they didn't deserve it. And so there is somewhere that you can go to be forgiven. You still have to return what you stole, but the feeling and the crap that you're left with and the injustice that you're sitting there dealing with, and you're the one who deserves it, that's been taken care of. And that's what Easter's about, and that's what the story's about. So if you're at church, maybe this will give you something to think about this weekend. And did you have anything to add to that? Nope. Thank you.
Pretty much nailed it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Dummy Low. We have a special guest coming here that I can't wait to introduce you to. He's one of my new heroes. I've watched a bunch of his videos on YouTube. This guy's an engineer. I don't want to commit to the week that he'll be here, but it'll be sometime in the weeks to come, so keep an eye out for it. But this guy is a engineer who defends the existence of God through science. And he defends atheists, and he's got all kinds of, he says, I'm not using the Bible, I'm not, he wasn't a Christian, or he didn't believe in God, I should say, and he sort of let the facts lead him to it, and he has a very entertaining presentation. And so we're going to have him here when Dennis is here, because Dennis is very into science, and I can't wait to hear. Hopefully Dennis will kind of put him to the test and give him some tough questions.
Maybe he can confirm once and for all the existence of aliens.
I hope so, because Dennis believes in
awesome.
aliens. But the guy who's coming on is named Neil Mammon. Neimammmen. Mammon. And his ministry is called No Blind Faith, because he doesn't believe you have to have faith that's completely blind and just do what your parents say. If they said it, it must be right, So can't wait for that. Thank you so much for joining this week, and we will see you next week, the same time, Friday night, 8 p.m. at thedummyload.com.